supposed to just keep coming to me about it because I'm the only one that says something because I spent my own money to make a documentary about the horrible things that he did to multiple members of the LGBT community. So I asked him, I said, when did you know that he had HIV? And he tells me, oh, he's had it since he moved into that apartment. And he had it in Lawrence, Kansas. So basically, before he met me, he had HIV. And today is the first day that I'm finding out about it.
I'm doing this for the victims. This is for all the sexual assault victims, every sexual assault victim. Jay Hunter, the king of the gays, is doing this for you. People are not taking sexual assault victims seriously. They're victim blaming and they're victim shaming. So I'm doing this for us. I'm walking for us.
Now, Miss Annie, I don't know if you watched my last film in which I left you a set of messages, but I'm going to leave you some more messages in this film that I want you to watch. In 2023, I wrote you and your daughter Princess a message explaining to you why I pressed charges against your son and why I was releasing a documentary about your son. In 2023, I released a film called The Boy in St. Regis, which was about your son sexually abusing me, exposing me to syphilis and exposing me to chlamydia, and raping me. And then, in 2024, I released a documentary called The King of the Gays. In that documentary, a 21-year-old talks about how your son raped him. He spends 20 minutes explaining that your son raped him. In that movie, you can watch me and that 21-year-old sit in a police station as he presses charges against your son. In that documentary, The King of the Gays, I also found out that your son had exposed me to HIV in the same documentary. In 2025, I released Fight the Narcissist. In that movie, I explain to you why I am suing your son after finding out that they would not pick up the charges against him for rape or exposure to HIV. I mentioned to you that I would take matters into my own hands, which is what I have always done my entire life. Because as a black gay man, I have never been handed anything. Cause they don't really care anyway. Don't be afraid to go pro se. Just file your case and state your claim. If you got the evidence, then you win the case. If you got the evidence, then you win the case. not gonna let them haters stop my game. If you got the evidence, if you got the evidence, then you win the case, bitch. Then you win the case, bitch. If you got the evidence, if you got what I said, then you win the case. Then you win the case. If you got the evidence, if you got the evidence, then you win the case. It's that simple. Win the case. Got the evidence. If you got the evidence, then you win the case. Then you win the case. If you got the evidence, then you win the case. That's simple. I wanted to show you something. You see this right here? This is my wardrobe where I keep a lot of my costumes for when I do pornography. I used to take care of an elderly woman named Miss Irene when I was about 16 years old. And when she passed away, I got this from her. I got to take this from her house and bring it over to my home. And inside of it is a lot of my costumes for when I get on camera and work as a porn star. The reason why I wear this condom over my eye is to protest against the spreading of STDs. I also wear this to protest against your son. I believe that your child hated me because I believe that he considered me low. And I believe that your child looked down on me because I was a nude model. He didn't really care about my music career, but he hated that I did adult entertainment. I did not sleep with anybody on camera when I was dating your son. I was just a nude model. And it disturbed your son. It disgusted him. Miss Annie, on the day that your son cost me my first date on January 24th, instead of going to go take my life, or instead of going to go wallow in my tears, on that same day, I walked to the library, which is right across the street from your son's apartment. And on that same day, January 24th, I wrote a note to help your son get off of drugs. Now, I did not present that note directly to him because I put it in my pocket because your son answered the door and he let me come in. And I talked with your son and I begged him to get off of drugs. I mentioned that I was trying to educate your son about HIV, but your son already had it long before he had met me. In that documentary, I tried to mention every horrible thing that your son had ever done to me. Why would I leave out the fact that your child had HIV if I already mentioned his syphilis and chlamydia? It is because even though I made a documentary about your son raping me, in that documentary, I still did not know that he had exposed me to HIV the entire time that I was with him. Still. I told my lawyer, I said, if Elijah ever catches HIV, I believe that he could spread it rapidly and he could take us back to the 80s. I said that the day after I pressed charges against Elijah for rape, and I had no idea at that time that Elijah had HIV. I thought that because he came to me about the syphilis and the chlamydia, of course, after sleeping with me, I thought that because he was willing to admit that he had that he would be open about his HIV. But your son did not want me to know that he had it for many reasons. And I've come to terms with a lot of those reasons. Miss Annie, while I continued to work at Chula, your son continued to treat me like I was nothing. And sometime around February, I remember your son telling me that he was not over his ex. And even though he was telling me that he was pursuing me and that he wanted, to continue to what we would call give me pressure or give me energy, your son continued to manipulate me even further, to use me as a sex object and to make it easier to abuse me and to demean me. Your son, Elijah, uses sex to hurt people. when his boyfriend, who was a filmmaker, when he would not sleep with him or touch him, your son would go let another man have his way with him, and he would put his location off so that his fiance or his boyfriend would not know where he was. Your son uses sex as a way to demean people and lower people. He uses sex to cause people psychological trauma and damages. Sometime around March 20th, I had come to see your son again to check on him. Now, around March 20th, I had got a new job, Miss Annie. I had actually got hired to work at a hospital as a patient transporter. And so even though your son was abusing me and causing me to have psychological damages, I still picked myself up to continue to working in the hospital after I had lost my job working at the dog food plant. Let me explain how I lost my job. When your son was abusing me, my mom was going through poverty so bad that my mom was struggling to pay her car note. So while I was worried about your son dying from a drug overdose, and while I was spending every night of my life crying because of how horrible and how bad your son was treating me, one day, when I got up to go to work, my mom, she was over my apartment because we were working the night shift. So my mom had spent the night at my apartment. When we got up to go to work, and this was around February, when we got up to go to work, my mom's car was supposed to be parked in the back. When we went downstairs to go to work, my mom's car was gone. They repossessed my mom's fucking car, Miss Annie. So while your son was abusing me, and while your son was blocking me and unblocking me, and while your son was verbally abusing me, and while your son was sexually abusing me and treating me like I was worthless, they took my mom's fucking car, so I couldn't even go to work to feed myself anymore, Miss Annie. That's what I was dealing with. I did not do anything to hurt Elijah. I never did anything to hurt him. All I ever did was try to be there for him. And he continued to try to destroy my life. Sometime around February, I was hurting so bad because of what your child was doing to me that I took a long walk because I walked to handle my depression. I walked in the freezing cold and I texted Elijah because I was angry at him. And I told him, I said, goodbye, I can't do this. And Elijah sent me the peace sign. He sent me this because he didn't give a fuck about me. And I told Elijah, I said, doing those drugs is not going to stop you from remembering all the things that you've done to people, because I didn't know who else your son had hurt, but I kind of had an idea that maybe he had treated somebody else like he had treated me. I had known about his ex by that time. He had told me what he had done to his ex. And do you know what Elijah said to me? He said, you the one that said goodbye, see you next week, Jay, with a smiley face. That was the first time that I realized that your son actually enjoyed causing me real pain, psychological pain, sexual pain. Your son told me that I was too soft, Miss Annie. He told me that he liked to be dominated during sex. So when I did not live up to your son's sexual expectations, he would just go let a stranger dominate him and demean him. Your son enjoyed being demeaned during sex, Miss Annie. Your son liked being choked during sex. He liked being disrespected during sex. And even though that's not illegal, whenever I would not demean him, or whenever I would not choke him hard enough, or whenever I would not be as hard or as strong with him, he would just go find a stranger on the Jacked app to do it to him. And then when they would not give him the love and compassion that he wanted or the attention he wanted, he would call me at any time of the day. And because I cared about him and loved him, I would still come over. Because I genuinely loved your son. But your son made me suicidal, just like he made Mitchell suicidal. When your son said, see you next week, Jay, with a smiley face, I said to him, is that how you think this is going to go? And he said it again, see you next week, Jay, with a smiley face. I asked myself, why is he saying, see you next week, Jay? And why is he smiling about it? If I'm hurting, why is he smiling about it? It's because he enjoyed hurting people. He enjoyed causing people pain, especially people that try to stand up against him. Narcissists do not like when their victim tries to stand up. Do you know what I said to Elijah when he said, see you next week, Jay? I said, Elijah, you're being very rude. You're being very mean. And he said to me, oh, grow up. Cry me a river. That's what he said to me on Snapchat. So I blocked his whore ass. And then for 3 nights, I could not stop thinking about him. And so when I unblocked him, I saw that he had unblocked me too. So I text him and I apologize because narcissists, they have a way of tricking you into thinking that you are wrong for the abuse that they are dealing you. They have a way of making you think that you are the cause of it and that you are wrong in the relationship. So I text Elijah after not hearing from him for about 3 days, and I said, are you asleep right now? What's going on? And he said, I'm at the hospital with Grandpa. Those were your son's words to me. And I said, what's going on? And Elijah said, all good, because that was his favorite thing to say. He always loved to say, all good. Sometime around March, your son told me, as I sat with him on his bed, your son told me that his grandfather was sick. That is what he said to me. On March 20th, I came to see your son to check on him. I want to show you something, Miss Annie, and I want you to pay close attention to this. This is a tweet that I made. I made a tweet on April 4th. You see that picture of me? That's me in the bathroom at my orientation. Your son was hurting me so bad, and your son had done so many disgusting, evil things to me that it was causing me to want to take my life every day. So I wrote myself a note. I went into the bathroom during my own orientation, and I wrote myself a note. Let's read that note. I said, before you do it, stay one more day. I know it's hard. It's not fair. I know no one understands how you were hurt, but I dare you to stay one more day just to see if it gets better, and then maybe one more day. That was a note that I wrote to myself because your son was making me want to kill myself. Because every day I had to live with the fact that while I was trying to help your son, he was trying to destroy my life because he had done so many horrible things to me. Keep in mind, that was on April 4th of 2023. But this is what I want you to know, Miss Annie, and you better pay attention to this because this is very important, Miss Annie. You're going to want to hear this because it's going to help you to understand who I am and who your son is. Miss Annie, if we look at April 4th, that was the day that I would not stop texting your son. On that same day, after I got out of my orientation, I checked on your son because I had not heard from him in a week. The last time that I had saw your son was on my birthday. Your son refused to spend my birthday with me after using me as a sex object for 6 months and after romantically trying to trick me into thinking that we had something going and after making me feel as if he was my boyfriend. Your son had finally let go of me after using me as a cum rag for 6 months. And so on April 4th, even though your son had made me suicidal, after I got out of my orientation, I still text your son to check on him. Let's read those messages together, Miss Annie. This is on April 4th. I said, I just wanted to check on you. I wasn't sure if you'd blocked me, so I called from an old number. I hope you're well. Sorry if I bothered you. And your son said, I'm about to block you. I said, I understand. I apologize. I just wanted to check on you. I know it's been a while, but I care about you always. Your son said, leave me alone, please. If I'm honest, I want nothing to do with you. On April 4th, I said to your son, I wanted to show you that you got someone always here for you, bro. No matter what, you always mattered to me. You know what Elijah said? He said, okay, thanks, LOL. Can you leave me alone now? What do you want? That's how your son... Miss Annie, if you go back to that suicide note that I wrote for myself, where I said, just stay one more day. If you go back to that, you'll see the pain in my eyes. You'll see the sadness in my eyes. On my lowest fucking day, despite your son making me want to kill myself, and despite your child, on April 4th, despite your child making me feel so low and sick that I wanted to take my life, even on my orientation date, I had to go into the bathroom and hold myself together and write a suicide note to myself. On my lowest day, I still told your child that he got somebody here for him. I still told Elijah that I loved him. I told your child on my lowest day, even when I was suicidal, I still had enough room in my heart to check on your son and told him that I will be there for you. I love you and I care for you. Because I cared about your son. And your son told me, LOL, leave me alone. I don't want nothing to do with you. And do you know why? Do you know why? Because your son was bored with me. Your son didn't even feel like I deserved to be used for sex anymore. Your son had accomplished his goal on demeaning me, lowering my value, sexually abusing me, defecating on me, raping me, taking advantage of me, exposing me to HIV. He had done everything he could to destroy my life, to hurt me. And now he was bored. He was ready to move on. So on the day that I contemplated taking my life because of what your son did to me, I still had enough heart to check on him because I had not heard from him in a week, and I was worried that your son was going to die from a drug overdose. And I did genuinely care for your son. And on that day, he told me, if I'm honest, I don't want nothing to do with you. Miss Annie, now this is the point where I'm going to show you some of the evidence of your son being a sex predator. And this is some of the evidence that I want to show. This is the same evidence that I submitted to the detective. See, Miss Annie, the reason why I started working on this documentary is because I found a 21-year-old who told me that your son threatened him when he would not sleep with him. And he told me that your son was on cocaine. This young man right here, this man is Freddie. This is Freddie. Miss Annie, this young man texted me on Twitter and told me that your son was over his home with cocaine in his system. Over the phone, while I was working at Truman Medical Center, which is now called University Health, Freddie told me that your son, Elijah, threatened him because he did not want to sleep with him. He told me this in 2023, just about maybe 5 months before I dropped the Boy in St. Regis documentary. I was not working on the documentary when I first got to that job. I was just trying to pick myself back up and heal from what your son had done to me. But Miss Annie, your son liked to have threesomes with this young man, Freddie. And he would let him and his friend have sex with him. Anal sex. Your son would let them stick their penises into him. And Miss Annie, your son used this young man for drug money, abused him psychologically, just like he did me. But Miss Annie, because this young man refused to sleep with your son started yelling at him and threatened him. And he told me this over the phone. Because of this, I was compelled to make the Boy in St. Regis because I was afraid that your son was going to do all of the horrible monstrosities that he did to me. I was afraid that your son was going to continue to do it to young people because Elijah, he liked to prey on young, poor people because they were easier to destroy and easier to demean. Miss Annie, in February, your son told me that he told me to my face, he said, I believe that people who are not on my level are dummies. And so your son was talking about me, for one, but he was also talking about other young black men, young black gay men who he thought were below him because they did not have degrees like him or because they did not have academic success like him. So your son, he preyed on people who were low and who had no academic success and who did not have money like him or a good job like him because he knew that they were easier to destroy, demean, and because he genuinely thought that they deserved it because he saw them as lower members of society. Miss Annie, I also want to talk about this young man right here. I do not know his age, but this man told me that he remembered your son begging him for weed and begging him for weed money. Miss Annie, Elijah used people for drugs. And when he was doing meth, he liked to have sex with the people that he was doing meth with. Now, Miss Annie, this man said that Elijah did tell him that he had HIV, but that he feels like he only told him that he had it because he told him first that he had it. Your son slept with a lot of gay men without telling them that he had HIV. I was one of them, and he did it to me for 6 months. I did not know that your son was sleeping with me knowing that he had HIV until long after we were done. In my documentary, The King of the Gays, you can watch in real time as I realized that my boyfriend who abused me and raped me had been sleeping with me with HIV the entire time. Now, Miss Annie, this young man is Mitchell Strong. This man pressed charges against your son on January 6th for rape. In his police report, he mentions that your son raped him and that after he was done raping him, he smiled in his face. He also admits that there is a second account where Elijah raped him again. When he had come over to confront Elijah to speak with him, Elijah raped him on that day again. And on that day, Mitchell Strong mentions that your son bit his arm and spit in his face before raping him. Okay, and that's all a part of his police report. This young man was willing to go to a detective to speak to him about your son raping him. Okay, also, this guy, his alias is Mike Will did that. The reason why he has an alias is because I believe that he is in the closet. I believe that he does not want to come forward about his sexuality. But sometime in December, right after I had broke my wrist, Miss Annie, I thought I was never going to be able to use my hand ever again after I broke my wrist on a bike accident. After I had broke my wrist, about a week later, this young man had told me that your son had slept with him without telling him that he had HIV. Now, I questioned him and I said, did he just get HIV? Like, did he just catch it? And this young man informed me that your son had had it even while he was in Lawrence, Kansas, which I would assume that would mean that even while he was in his dorm room. Miss Annie, I would like to say something. Miss Annie, you can call me a liar if you want to, and your son can call me a liar if he wants to. But Miss Annie, all of these young men have slept with your son. And even though two of them don't want to come forward and don't want to press charges, I fight for these young men to have justice. I don't just fight for me to have justice for what your son has done to me. I fight for them as an advocate. And that is why I call myself the King of the Gays. It is a nickname that I gave myself, Miss Annie. But I want to say something. Even though all of these men have slept with your son, and even though these men are victims of your son, there are so many more men out there who your son has exposed to syphilis, chlamydia, and HIV. But they are terrified of coming forward. And the reason why is because some of them are still in the closet. And a lot of them who are out don't want people to know that they received a disease from Elijah. It is very embarrassing to admit that. Your son tried to destroy so many lives in the gay community, and I believe it was because he believed that people who did not have the academic success that he had, he believed that they were lower than him. He liked to have sex with people while destroying their lives any way that he could. I believe that your son is a sadist. I believe that your son takes pleasure from hurting people, and I believe that is why he laughed when I cried. I remember coming to see your son on March 8th. I had just and come over to St. Regis, and I was crying because I knew I had to break up with Elijah. And your son started laughing while I was crying. And I remember him saying the way that I was breathing was funny to him. Miss Annie, your son, he has hurt so many people that I'm afraid that as I continue to move forward against your son to protect him from gay men, that I'm going to meet people who are younger that your son has hurt. I've been talking with my lawyer about suing your son and suing him for all of the horrible, disgusting things that he has done to me. My hope is that if I sue your son, I could take the money from him that I'm going to sue your son for, and that I could give it to some of his victims who are poor and who are struggling with feeding themselves and paying their bills. So basically, I'm going to turn your son into a tree. And from the fruit that your son bears, I'm going to give that fruit to his victims. We're going to eat your son, Miss Annie. But not literally. That would be cannibalism. We're going to eat your son. Metaphorically, legally. I'm going to help his victims live off of him. For all of the horrible things he did to them, for all of the crimes that he committed against so many young men, so many innocent young gay men, for all the men that he infected with his syphilis and chlamydia on purpose, for all of the men that he demeaned and destroyed their lives by making them feel low and by hurting them, I am going to help them eat your child.
You know, every monster has a mother. Every monster has a mother. Oh guess I gotta make it plain then, huh? I guess I gotta make it plain then, huh? Well, I stay up all night thinking, is he gonna rape a younger guy this time? And I stay up all day fighting for the man that your son raised.
Elijah Thomas came into this building and denied all sexual allegations on myself and on Mitchell Strong. And he was interviewed by the same detective, Detective Robert Rubel, right here in this building here. Today, I have found out that my judge on my case with Eligah Thomas has denied my informa pauperis. This is a form that I filed as a victim to have my court fees waived, and my judge has decided to rule against this motion and deny it. So I am going to speak with the ladies down at the courtroom to see if there's any resources available for me as a victim. I want you guys to know, when I first came forward about the story, a lot of people had speculation. Some people said that I lied on Elijah to promote my music career. Some people said that he did do some of the things, but he might not have done all of the things. I have said many times that I'm telling the absolute truth about the things that Elijah has done, the sex crimes that he has committed in Kansas City, Missouri. And I want to tell you something. After finding out that Elijah Thomas did not serve time in prison for what he did to Mitchell Strong or to me or any of his other victims, I filed my own lawsuit against him. One thing you guys got to understand, in the court of law, there is no truth or lies. There's only evidence. I'm willing to showcase all of my evidence in the court of the law against Elijah Thomas. The people of Kansas City, we are tired of Elijah Thomas' crimes. I've spoken with so many people about the crimes that he has committed. People do not take our sex crimes seriously. I came here and spoke with Detective Robert Rubel, and I did not feel as if he took my sexual assault case seriously, and neither did Mitchell Strong. I'll be reporting more on the story, guys. Stay tuned.
So I'm here down at the courtroom where I am supposed to go to court against Elijah. And I'm here because my judge has decided to dismiss my informa pauperis. So an informa pauperis is basically, it is a request to have your court fees waived. And my judge has decided to dismiss my request, so I'm still gonna have to pay the fees. So this is what victims go through. You know, we get treated just like everybody else, but while we are getting treated like everybody else, we also have to deal with people denying that we were assaulted, and we have to deny all these things. But I want to say something. People don't have to make a movie about me, because I'm making a documentary about what I'm doing. So you don't have to make a movie about what Jay Hunter did, because I'm documenting it myself. So you can see me at the courtroom myself. Can I walk through to get my thing? Okay. Thank you. All right. You too, thank you. Thank you. Now, it was never my hope to dox Elijah, but when you sue someone, when you bring a legal action towards someone, you do sacrifice the right to privacy of your address. Suing Elijah meant putting my address publicly and also listing his address publicly. If you go to CaseNet, you can see that both of our addresses are listed publicly on CaseNet, and that is because of the lawsuit that I have against Elijah. This is a sacrifice I knew I had to make if I was to sue Elijah, that my address could be posted publicly. This is as close as I can get. I have no intention of infringing on Elijah's rights, invading on his rights, intruding on his rights. This is as safe as I can get. I'm here reporting in the plaza on my case. I have just filed a piece of paper to have basically Elijah served by a sheriff. He should be served in this here apartment, St. Regis. This is the apartment where me and Mitchell Strong both said that we were raped. We have the right to report where our rape took place. Even publicly, we have the right to say where we were raped, and we both have reported that we were raped here in St. Regis on the first floor in Elijah's apartment. I would not be saying the apartment number. As I said, it is not my hope to dox him. However, I feel like this is a safe distance for me to report that this is where he will be served. I am not sure if Elijah will receive his service letter. I'm not sure. I did pay for a sheriff to serve him so that he could be notified that he is being sued by me in the court of law. However, Elijah must be served so that he can be able to defend himself, as he will be the defendant and I will be the plaintiff, as I am prosecuting Elijah. This apartment here that I'm standing with, this is a historical moment for me, because this is a place where he brought many of his victims. Many young men would come to this apartment here, and some of them would be infected by his diseases. Some of them would receive a phone call or a text message that he had given them the disease, and some of them would not. And whether it was sexually, mentally, or even physically, as you know, Mitchell Strong accused him of assaulting him before he raped him. So this is the apartment here where I also was with Elijah for 6 months during the time where I was sexually abused and mentally abused. As you can see, it is sweltering. It is so hot out here, but I have to come report, as this case, I believe, will become a historic case for the LGBT community. I am Jay Hunter. I'm doing my best to report everything that's going on this case. Thank you guys so much for staying with me. All the people who have sent me thoughts and prayers, all the people who are texting me, telling me that they hope that I win this case. Thank you so much. So I'm taking a walk because I'm getting upset, and when I get upset, I take a long walk. I just got off the phone with Mitchell tonight, and I try not to bring up the rape. I try not to bring up a lot of those things, but today Mitchell brought up Elijah, because, you know, when you've been raped by somebody, sometimes you bring them up. That's what happens, especially since we have a hearing. Our hearing is on September the 25th, I think. So I told Mitchell I'm going to the hearing with Elijah. I don't know if he's going to show up or not, but I'm talking to Mitchell tonight, and Mitchell tells me, I just got off the phone with him probably about 2 hours ago. I'm taking a walk because I'm upset. I'm talking to Mitchell tonight, and I told Mitchell, I said, Mitchell, you know, Elijah, he would sleep with people without telling them, because Mitchell asked me, he said, Jay, how long has Elijah been doing this to people? I said, well, a source told me that he'd been doing this probably since before college, you know, probably around the time when he started college, probably 2020, who knows, but it's been a long time that he's been hurting people sexually. And Mitchell tells me, you know, he just asked me, like, you know, how long do you think Elijah's been doing this to young gay men? And I told him, I said, well, you know, I didn't even know he had, you know, HIV, which is, I already explained it to him before, but I'm just telling him that I found out from a source that Elijah would sleep with people and then call them and tell them, hey, I have HIV, or hey, I have syphilis and chlamydia, because those are the diseases, you know, that he had. And Mitchell told me tonight, he said, you know, he would tell me to have sex without a condom. I would bring condoms, and he would tell me, no, I don't want to use a condom. You know, when I first dropped my movie and I admitted that Elijah had slept with me raw, while lying to me and telling me that he did not have HIV, do you know what some dumbass told me? They said, you should have got him tested. That's your fault. That's your fault. You should have got him tested. First of all, me and Elijah, we were both getting tested. But the problem with Elijah is he would lie to me about what he had. He would tell me I had to get tested after he slept with me raw. And I did not catch HIV from him. I don't have HIV to this day. I did catch the chlamydia from him, but I did not catch the syphilis from him. I did not catch that from him. And that's because I did wear a condom most of the time when I was with Elijah. But my thing is, Mitchell told me tonight that Elijah literally would tell Mitchell, I do not want to have sex with a condom. I want to have sex raw. So he was literally willing to risk our lives so that he could enjoy sex, raw sex. HIV does not respond to everybody's body the same way. Some people cannot fight HIV like other people. Some people, even with medication, might not be able to fight it. And this fucking sick, twisted, evil ass person, you know what they told me? They said, oh, it's your fault. You should have took him to go get tested. First of all, it's not my job to make a grown man go get tested. Second of all, he was lying to me about what he did not. What's crazy is he told me to go get tested, and then he told me he didn't have HIV in the same breath, which was a lie. In the same breath, he told, I don't know what else y'all want us to say. I don't know what else y'all need from us to know that this fucking evil ass bastard literally tried to destroy so many gay people in the LGBT community. He preyed on, I like, what else do y'all want us to say? And I asked Mitchell, I said, Mitchell, you mean to tell me he would tell you to have sex without a condom, knowing that he had these diseases, And Mitchell said, yeah, I brought a condom. And he would tell me, take it off, take that condom off. I like to feel the rawness of it. I like to feel the raw sex. And I thought to myself, how disgusting are you that you invite these young men over to your apartment, and when they're smart enough to bring a condom, when they're trying to protect themselves, trying to wrap it up, you tell them no. I like raw sex. I like to feel the rawness, knowing that you're going to give them syphilis or chlamydia. He literally invited people over to his apartment and he coerced them to have raw sex with him, knowing that he was going to get them sick. He literally was fucking people, knowing that he was giving them diseases while he was having sex with them. And when young boys like Mitchell Strong, when they would come over with a condom, Elijah would say, no, take the condom off. Mitchell literally told me tonight, he said Elijah would take the condom out my hand, or he would take the condom off during sex and say, no, I like the raw feeling. Do you know what that fucking means? That means that Eligah Thomas invited young men over to his apartment and he purposely fucked them without protection. And I told y'all that he was doing that. And when they would be smart enough to bring protection, when they would come over there with their condoms, he would tell them either don't wear the condom or he would take it off in the middle of sex. You know what that means? That means that he was literally fucking diseases into people's bodies. That means he was literally fucking diseases into people's bodies. He was literally having sex while transmitting diseases on purpose. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I told my mama I was dating an architect, a handsome guy that went to 2 colleges. I bragged about you to my sister when you took your trip. You was out there in Singapore on some fancy shit. You just wanted somebody to abuse. You just wanted somebody to use. You just wanted somebody to use. You just wanted somebody to abuse. I'll never forget the way you made me feel worthless. I'll never forget you made me feel like I deserved it. I'll never forget the way you made me feel worthless. I'll never forget the way you made me feel. I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never forget. I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never forget. I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never forget. I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never forget.
So sad. It's fucked up.
I'll never forget the way you made me feel worthless. I'll never forget how you made me feel like I deserved it. I'll never forget the way you made me feel I'll never forget, I'll never forget, I'll never. Boy, yeah, yeah. If you know what I'm saying, if somebody ever treated you like trash, and somebody ever left you behind. And maybe it's your lover, it could be your mother. Then come on up here and raise your hand. I'll never raise. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. You know, I always say I was so kind to him. I didn't do anything to him, and he chose to hurt me the most out of all his victims. And that's what I really stay up with at night sometimes. I think I didn't do anything to him to deserve this kind of treatment, but that's how some people do you. So I've learned how to put up a guard for my heart. I've learned how to protect my heart from men.
The poets say that all who love are blind, but I'm in love and I know what time it is. The good books say, go seek and ye shall find. What I had sought in my, what a climb it is. My life is just like the weather, it changes with the hour. When he's near, I'm fair and warmer. When he's gone, I'm cloudy with showers. Never treat me sweet and gentle the way he should. I got it bad and that ain't good. Oh, yeah. My poor heart is sentimental, not made of wood. I've got it bad and that ain't good.
Hey Jason, this is Sebastian. I'm one of the officers with the Jackson County Court. I apologize for the last call. I did lost my signal completely. I know you're calling me about Elijah Thomas and for the address. Now, sorry for the late response. I've been looking everywhere for that document and I do not have it. I'm not sure if I turned it in already and that is why it's not with me, or I never received it. Now, if you spoke with Lloyd and I'm on this case, I do apologize for this inconvenience. I will get in touch with Lloyd and see if we could print another one off, and hopefully we get all the addresses that you have for
So it's late. It's really, really late. I just got back from a walk, but I'm about to have some pizza because I'm so hungry tonight. I was trying to go to sleep, but I could not sleep. But I found out 2 days ago that we have a new court date, me and Elijah. We have a new court date. It's going to be October 30th. And I told Mitchell, I need you there. You have to be there to testify. But even if Mitchell doesn't testify, I just want him there. And my mom's going to be there with me. I wanted to bring my brothers, but we don't need to have the whole family show up for this. This is a very serious situation. So I'm nervous as usual. I'm nervous. If he shows up, this will be my first time seeing Elijah since face to face, probably since March of 2023. I have not seen Elijah face to face since then. March of my birthday, I have not seen him face to face. I texted him before. Of course, he did not respond, but it was not a happy text. It was a I'm going to prosecute you for what you did text. But I have not seen him face to face since March 25th of 2023, which is last year, which was my birthday. So, yeah. So October 30th is the day that we have to show up together in court, me and him. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm finna eat some pizza, bruh. I'm finna eat some pizza, bruh. Some pizza, bruh. Some pizza, bruh. I'm finna have some pizza, bruh. Elijah left me with psychological damages to my mind, to my brain. I guess that's what you call it. Apart from suing for sexual assault and exposure to HIV, I'm mainly suing him for intentional infliction of emotional distress. And somebody got to lie to me, deceive me, expose me to HIV, abuse me, rape me, ridicule me, dehumanize me, and then they got to just walk away, and I did not want him to do that to somebody else. And then when I met Mitchell Strong, I found out what he did to Mitchell Strong. I realized he had already done it to somebody else again. And I didn't want nobody else to go through that. If I knew that somebody else was out there doing what Elijah was doing, I would warn people. But I don't go nowhere. I don't do anything with anybody. I don't go out with anybody. I stay to myself. So the only person I knew was the person that I had slept with for 6 months, and it was Elijah. And I knew somebody had to stand up and warn these young people. If he did it to me, he'll do it to you. And he did it again. So I had to take a stand against him because I knew him. And I know him. I always say this, but Elijah, he ruined a lot of things for me. I'm never going to look at sex the same way because of him. It's hard to this day. I don't see sex as I used to before I met Elijah. I can still enjoy sex, but I never look at it the same way because of him, because of how gluttonous his sexual appetite was for strangers and people who he didn't even know. And there's nothing wrong with having sex with a stranger, but he would have gluttonous sex with strangers, anybody who was just willing to come over. And that did a lot to me because I was in love with him. And I struggle to trust men because he lied to me about his HIV status. And he ruined a lot of things for me, things that are going to take a long time for me to get back. He took my confidence, but I'm slowly every day gaining it back. And I feel confident each day when I fight for his victims. When I stand up against him, I get my confidence back each more and more. And so I'm grateful for that, but it's hard. It's still hard to this day.
Will tell you what the Bible says, then I'll ask you for some hot sex. He will tell you what the Bible says, then he'll ask you for some hot sex. They try to vote and pass new laws to ban gay marriage. They tell you be ashamed of yourself, and they ask you for some hot sex. He was in architect, and I was a porn star. He was a conservative, and I was a porn star. He was a Christian, and I was a porn star. And he knew just what I was before I got in his car. You know, Elijah told me that he didn't like porn stars. He didn't like when men took nude pictures of themselves. And I said, well, if you don't like porn stars, then why am I fucking you in your bed while we're watching porn? It doesn't make sense. But you wanna know something? I've done my research and I've learned a lot of conservatives. I've learned that they like to judge you and look down on other people. But after they get through telling you what to do with your body, they like to get down and dirty and have nasty hot sex. That's what I've been told. Yeah. And he knew just what I was before I got in his car. He knew just what I was before I got in his car. He knew just what I was before I got in his car. He knew what I was before I got in his car. He was an architect, and I was a porn star. He was a conservative, and I was a porn star. Baby. He was a Christian, and I was a porn star. And he knew just what I was before I got in his car.
I'm getting ready to. Well, I was gonna go take a walk, but I don't know if I want to go take a walk or if I just want to go to bed. I don't know, but I'm feeling a rush of deep anger, deep sadness. That's the when you suffer from emotional distress. That's the one that's caused you. Even if it happened at your job, if it happened in a relationship, if it happened by a stranger on the street, you get these overwhelming feelings of anger and sadness that just rush in. And I'm also getting more anxious because we're getting closer and closer to my court date with him, and it's on the 30th, and I'm just getting so upset because I want to face him and tell the judge what he did to me, but to talk about it makes me angry. And then I'm like, but you can't get justice if you don't talk about it. And then I'm like, okay, but I have to go through this process of presenting this evidence, and I'm just in my mind, I know that I'm telling a judge something that someone did to me, but I know I can't make her feel what this piece of shit made me feel. I can't make her feel it. And so I sing, I listen to music to help me deal with my pain, but it's just a lot. I got a lot of nerves because we're getting like each day we're getting closer and closer. It's Wednesday of next week. It's next Wednesday, and so when I was working at the hospital, I love working at the hospital. I love working with people. I love working at the hospital. And there was this lady who was getting anxious. She was an old lady, and she did not know that I could sing. She didn't know anything about me, and she was like, I was taking her to her appointment. When I took her to her appointment, she was just like, I'm so anxious. I wish you could sing to me. And I was pushing her in her wheelchair, and she was so nervous because she was a little old lady, but she had to wear this mask over her face to help her breathe. She had to get like a respirator test done. And she said, can you just sing to me? And I said, I'm going to tell you a secret. I don't want anybody at this job to know, but I'm a singer, and I've been singing my whole life. And she was like, oh my God, are you serious? She was like, can you just sing to me? So I'm going to sing the song that I sang to her. And I always sing this song when I'm really, really down, because it's a very special song, very, very special song to me. But this is a song I sang to her, and hopefully if I sing this tonight, it can help me. And if you're going through emotional distress, maybe it can help you too. So I'm going to try to sing it as best as I can. And it goes like, summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy is rich, and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, and don't you cry. I look at Mitchell Strong, and I see him standing by me and willing to come to talk to a detective about his sexual assault from Elijah, willing to come to court on multiple days, willing to talk to a prosecutor. And I see him standing by my side. All right. And during the rape, during the sexual favors, all you wanted was a friend.
Yeah.
Somebody to hang out with, a guy. He had a nice TV, nice game. He had some smoke, but you were, for those past 3 months, raped and used for everything that you were worth, right?
Yeah.
Was there any time where you felt suicidal because of what Elijah did to you?
It was.
This morning, before we went to court, I met Mitchell Strong's grandmother for the first time. And I sat down with her as Mitchell got ready because we came to pick him up for court. And I had coffee with his grandmother. She made me coffee. And I thought to myself, You know, these young men that have been hurt by Elijah, they wouldn't do all this. They wouldn't come and sit and talk and meet and come do all these court dates. They wouldn't do this if he really did not cause them any harm. You have to look at motive. You always have to look at motive. If Elijah Thomas lied and said that he did not rape Mitchell Strong, if he lied and said he didn't do anything to me and that I'm just making the whole story up, why would I fight this hard? Why would Mitchell Strong come to all of these things? I want to say this. I wanted to sue Elijah Thomas for $50,000 originally, right? That is what I originally wanted. But my lawyer told me that she would not be able to assist me on this case because she was already helping me on another case that I was involved in, an injury. I got injured in a bus accident. So my lawyer could not do all these cases all at once. So I told her I would represent myself as pro se. When you are pro se, you miss things. And you don't know everything because you're not an actual lawyer. I am my own attorney, but I'm not a licensed lawyer. So today, as we went to court, no, Elijah Thomas did not show up because he does not give a fuck about what he did to me or anybody else. But when we showed up today, I presented my case, hoping to sue for only $4,500 because that's all I could sue for in small claims court. Today, they told me you cannot sue for emotional distress in small claims court. So my judge had to dismiss my case so that I can file a new lawsuit against Elijah outside of small claims court. And now that I'm suing outside of small claims court, I want way more than $4,000 because I was going to just take the $4,000 and leave. I was going to take that money and I was going to say, okay, he's not here. I won my case by default judgment. Fine. But my judge informed me today that I could not sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress in small claims court. I did not know that because I am my own attorney. I have talked to my lawyer many times about this case, but my lawyer is not able to answer all of my questions. She's not able to wait on me hand and foot because she is representing other clients. So I am working overtime on this case because Elijah, he did everything. Everything that I said he did to me in the Boy and St. Regis documentary, everything I said he did to me in the King of the Gays documentary, everything I said that he did to me everything is true that he did. He did all of it, yes. All of it, the drugs, the abuse, my story is true and my story is actual and factual. And the reason why I'm going through all this is to help people to understand I ain't got no reason to lie. Yes, he did it. He did all of it. And his sex victims, they know that he did it all to them too. That's why they're willing to testify. That's why they're willing to come forward. So now that we're no longer in small claims court, I can raise my amount that I want to sue Elijah for. And I would like to sue him for at least $10,000, $30,000, or $50,000, simply because I know I can. I'm not a greedy man. When they told me that I could not sue for more than $5,000 in civil court, I said, fine, I'll sue him for $4,500. And so I will register tomorrow. I have to go fill out all the paperwork again. I have to do the whole process. I have to have him served, everything all over again. He can lie all he wants. He can lie and say, I didn't do any drug besides weed. He can lie and say, I didn't rape Mitchell Strong. But his lies do not have power anymore. I want to show the world that the crimes in the LGBT community, they will be taken seriously because they will be taken seriously by the victims. I said in my documentary, The King of the Gays, I said it wasn't the judge that brought him to justice. It wasn't the lawyers. It was me. When I say I brought him to his knees, I brought him to justice, I'm not talking about I took him to prison. I don't have the power to put nobody in prison. What I mean is I held him accountable by getting a criminal investigation started, by getting a detective involved, by helping Mitchell Strong press charges again. I sat with Mitchell Strong when he pressed charges. He was just 21 years old when I met him. He didn't know how to press charges. I sat with him for 5 hours and helped him while he was interrogated by a police officer, even before he met Detective Robert Rugel, about the horrible, sick things that Elijah Thomas did to him. These crimes that Elijah did, they are real. They are serious. And when I say I brought him to justice, I mean I prosecuted him. When the prosecuting attorneys told me that there's not enough evidence, I filed a lawsuit.
When the detective told me that he didn't hear back from the Jacked app about Elijah using the app to pray against young gay men, I interviewed young gay men from the Jacked app to get those messages, because Elijah Thomas, he will pay the legal penalties for what he did to me and all of us. Why? Because I care. And because I'm not letting him get away with this. I am not letting him get away without paying.
One thing I'm trying to show these young men is that there's a better way to handle things other than just violence, resorting to violence. A lot of people have said that they feel feelings of rage and anger towards Elijah for what he did. A lot of people have said they want to hurt him. And I'm trying to show these young men that violence is not always the answer. Right before my court case started with Elijah, right before my hearing, I went to go see my grandmother, because whenever I get really sad, I go to my grandma's house. I told my grandma, I said, I'm suing a man because he hurt me and he hurt a lot of other people. And I said, he exposed me to a disease for 6 months of my life. And he used an app to prey on young people so that he can hurt them. He used an app to hurt people, to find his new victims. And my grandmother said, when somebody do something to you like that, you make their pockets hurt. That's what my grandmother told me. So that is what I will do. I will not rest until I get justice. I will not rest in my soul. I will not rest in my heart. I will not rest in my mind. And I will have justice.
What's going on?
I just got out of the bathtub. And I checked my Twitter, and this guy sent me a message, and he said he didn't rape me, but he slept with me without telling me that he had HIV. Even though it's undetectable, he still should have told me before we slept together. So I guess this is my first time finding out that Elijah has HIV, because I didn't know that he had it. When I met him, like I said, he had a lot of diseases, but he kept telling me he didn't have HIV. He just said, I've had everything. But I knew people would come to me. I knew people would reach out to me about him and tell me what he did to them. I opened up space for people to do it. But today, it really hits a little different for today, because nobody has ever once told me that he has HIV. I just found that out today. But of course, they're telling me that he didn't tell them either before he slept with them. Like, how cruel can you be, bro? How sick in the head are you? That you sleep with another person without telling them your status, bro. You don't care. He don't care about nobody else's life but him, bro. He don't care about nobody. And these people, they come to me because they know I care. Unlike him, they know I actually give a fuck, because he don't give a fuck about nobody. He don't give a fuck about none of y'all.
I never like to give myself a pat on the back and say, oh, I'm just this amazing person. I've made mistakes like everybody else. But I understand that this case is serious and I put my all into it. I cannot legally call myself Mitchell Strong's lawyer. I cannot say that I'm his lawyer. But basically, I am his lawyer because I am doing all of this. And Mitchell Strong does not have to work at all on this case. I do everything. I do everything for us. And it's not just for Mitchell, it's for Elijah's other victims. But Mitchell Strong, he was raped by Elijah. And so because of me, I have filed all these papers on his behalf and on my behalf. Because of me, Mitchell Strong, he'll be able to testify in front of his assaulter. He'll be able to testify. And because of me, Mitchell Strong, he'll have a jury. And all of that is because of me, because the prosecutors did not care enough to prosecute this case in criminal court, and the detective did not care enough to further investigate. So I had to be my own detective on this case because I really feel like my detective was useless in this case. I have done everything on my own. I filed my own summons. When I found out that Eligah Thomas had moved from his apartment, I had to file a new summons to have him serve at his job. I drafted that summons up. When I found out that Elijah didn't want to come and appear to our initial hearing, I drafted a subpoena to get him there. Why? Because I want Mitchell Strong to have the chance to not only have a jury at his court case, but to be able to testify in front of the man who hurt him. And all of that is possible because of me. Last night I asked myself, why are you fighting? What are you fighting for? And I said, well, I know that I was wronged. I know that I was sexually abused, psychologically abused by this person. I know that. But I told myself, I said, you're doing this because he hurt other people as well. And you know that. You know it. And so do the prosecutors. But you just have to care enough to actually do something about it. I told that detective I would put an end to him. And that don't mean that I'm going to put him 6 feet in the ground. That don't mean that I'm going to put him up in my own prison. Like I said, I ain't got no prison to throw Elijah in. What I mean is, I'm going to let him know that this is what happens when you prey on young men in the LGBT community. This is what happens when you purposefully try to see, can you use an app to infect people? to hurt people, to cause people intentional inflictions of emotional distress, to leave them with psychological damages that can cause them to take their life, while you get to move on and work on your architectural projects and go to your architectural lectures and smile and have a good day, knowing that you've left behind a trail of young men who want to kill themselves because of how cruel and how sexually demeaning you were. Elijah Thomas, he will pay the legal penalties, and he will always know that it was only because of me. I'm not the same young guy that I was when I first started doing music. I'm not as optimistic about life as I used to be. I'm more grumpier now. I have a shorter fuse now, and I don't have a thrill for everything like I did when I first started doing new modeling and doing music at the same time. I don't trust men anymore. I struggle to connect with men. When a man does one little thing I don't like, I block him and I just move on, because I thought, what's the point? What's the point of having another man take me through what Elijah took me through? I have not dated any man since Elijah. I haven't gotten that far. I don't get that far with guys. Guys are complicated. Men are very complicated. But every day of my life, I'm trying to learn how to appreciate the smallest little bitty things. Now I just want to live a quiet life now. I don't chase the same ambitions that I used to chase. I don't look for the things that I used to look for. I just want to be somebody's husband. I want to be somebody's husband. I want a man to be there for me. I don't need a man, but I will want one. Oh yeah, are you kidding me? A sexy ass husband to be there with me. That's all I want. And I want to continue to be a family man to my brothers, to my sister, and for my mom. We have been through a lot, and my hope is that I can one day be able to fully trust a man, like I did before I met Elijah.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. There are times when I wake up to messages from people who have watched my documentary. I let people say whatever they want to say when they watch my documentary, but there are times when people leave me messages and tell me, oh, I watched it and I thought this or I thought that. I want people to know that when I had broke my arm for my bike injury, yes, it is a true story that I warned about 50 to 100 men about Elijah by using the app with a broken arm. Yes, I did. Yes, I did go out in the freezing cold and investigate Elijah by using the Jacked app with a broken arm. Yes, I did. I did. That is a true story. My whole story is true. I shouldn't have to keep saying that, but I had just broke my arm. And what people don't know is I was so depressed because I had broke my arm. I was so depressed. But right after I broke my arm, I found out that he had exposed me to HIV. Some stranger texted me and said, yeah, he exposed me to HIV too. And I didn't even know Elijah had HIV. So I was broken in spirit and in my body. But because I knew how serious things was, I knew that I had to go out and warn people. If he was willingly sleeping with people, lying and telling them that he didn't have HIV, after already being accused of sleeping with people, knowing that he has syphilis and chlamydia, that means he was out here just living reckless and playing around with people's sexual health. And I couldn't have him do that to nobody else. Yeah, I went out in the freezing cold below zero with a broken arm and warn people on the Jacked app about Elijah, because the Jacked app is what he used to find his new victims. I was also tracking him down on the app because they told me that if Elijah had refused to come in to give a statement, they told me that they needed messages from the Jacked app, anything they could to have a case against him should he decide not to speak. That's what a prosecutor actually told me. Well, I went on the app to track him because I figured that he was going to lie about being on the app. I mean, he lied about a lot of other things when he went into the detective's office. So I tracked him on the app because he was still in St. Regis at that time. And I did it in below zero weather. And I had a cast on my arm because my arm was still broken, but the cast was not because it was a new cast. They had put up, I think it was like plexiglass. And so I was in the freezing cold below zero tracking Elijah on the app while also talking to people on the app that he had hurt. And it would get so cold that I would literally put my hands, the arm that was broken, I would put it up against my mouth in the freezing cold and breathe hot air on my hands because that's how cold it felt. Like my fingers were gonna fall off. That's how I found out what he did to Mitchell. I would have never found out that he raped Mitchell had I not gone out there in the freezing cold and questioned people on the app. And Mitchell actually reached out to me. He saw my warning. I put a warning of Elijah on the Jacked app. And that's how I found out that he had raped Mitchell Strong. Once Mitchell pressed charges against Elijah, once I got a phone call from a detective, from a prosecutor saying that they would not pick up any charges against Elijah for rape, that is when I got really angry and I protested Elijah in the streets. I only did that because I got the call that they would not pick up the charges against him for me or for Mitchell. Mitchell called me and told me. He said they just called me too and told me that they weren't going to pick up the charges for rape. So I got angry and I did the right thing. I didn't go hurt Elijah or attack Elijah. No, I went to go protest against him in the streets. I wanted to show people what it looked like to be a rape victim. The blood coming down my body, the black tape around my mouth to represent victims who are silenced, victims who are told not to speak up after they have been raped or molested. I wanted to show people what it looked like to be abused sexually and psychologically by someone, how it feels to walk around. And one person, he was like a security guard. He tried to get me to leave the plaza. He kept saying, "You can't be around here." And I said, "Yes, I can. I'm within my rights." So he got mad. He tried to get me to leave. And so he called the cops on me. And when the police officer showed up, he said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Yes, you can talk to me." I said, "But can I record just for my safety?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "You are acting within your rights. You don't have to leave the plaza. You're acting within your rights. You're protesting." He said, "We just want to ask you a few questions to make sure that you are in your right mind." I said, "I absolutely am in my right mind. You can ask me whatever you want." He asked me a couple of questions. He asked me, "What is today's date?" He asked me all kind of little things. And he said, "Okay, you're fine. You can stand here as long as you want." And I shook his hand to symbolize me being willing to work with the police against Elijah. And here I am now getting ready to sue him in federal court. We have moved up to federal court. I am my own attorney, and I will be bringing people on the stand. I will be questioning people, and I will be speaking to a jury. I'm doing all this to get justice against the man who wronged not only me, but who wronged countless gay men in the LGBT community. I don't know how many men he has hurt. Somebody today wrote under my documentary today, somebody wrote, "Elijah, he was with my son too, but he came over to our home and stayed with him." So I'm like, here goes another person that is telling me that Elijah dated their son. And I gotta think, how many people did this man date? How many people did this guy? Narcissists, they constantly run through people. They run through communities. They run through friend groups, dating people over and over and over and over and over again, looking for that new supply. That's what he did. And, he used the app to do it. The app is Jacked and Grindr. They are a breeding app, a breeding ground for narcissists who are looking for that new face, that new man, that new person. And I can't bring in all of the people that I know that Elijah has hurt. I can't bring them all in because 2 of them do not want to speak to a police officer. But one person does, and that's Mitchell Strong. So I will be bringing in Mitchell Strong. When I protested Elijah dressed up as the bloody Jesus walking through the streets of the plaza, a lot of people gave me dirty looks, but a lot of people showed me sympathy. People walked up to me, took pictures of me. One lady had me, she was taking a picture of me on her phone. A lot of people came up to me and said, I don't know who that person is, but I'm sorry. But one thing that's really important to me is that I was walking around. I did one more lap around the plaza, one more lap before I headed home. And as I was walking, holding up my sign, protesting Elijah, a family was walking towards me because they were strolling around the plaza just like me. It was a Hispanic family. It was a son and a daughter, and they were with their dad. And the son, he probably was only about 8 years old. He looked up at me and he saw me with all the blood on me, holding up my sign, protesting. And when he looked at me, he did this. And I don't think his daddy saw him do that. I think he just wanted me to see it. Because the daddy was looking at me like. But the son, the little boy, he looked up at me when I was protesting and he said, he was showing me that I was a beacon of hope. Not for him, because Elijah hadn't hurt him. He's a kid. But he was showing me that I was doing the right thing. When people criticize me, write little smart aleck messages under my documentary, when people say little things to me and try to get under my skin about making this movie about him, I look to the little people. People who get on TikTok and tell me, I was hurt too. You know, somebody told me on TikTok, this guy, he texted me. I didn't even know who this guy was. He told me, he said, when I was about 16 years old, a guy on the Jacked app found me and he got me high on meth and he gave me a sexual disease and he raped me. And he said, to this day, I still want to take my life because of what he did to me. He told me that. I would never say his name or his face. He just sent it to me. He sent me a message on TikTok. And I carry those stories. Somebody texted me right when I first dropped my documentary. Somebody texted me on the on Twitter and said, Jay, and I said, what? Because it was really late at night. And I said, hey, you know, what, what's going on? Like, what do you want? And he goes, I just want to tell you, somebody assaulted me and gave me HIV. And I said, thank you for sharing that with me. And I gave him a teal heart. Whenever people share their stories of sexual assault with me, I always give them a teal heart. The teal heart is the symbol for sexual assault victims. People look to me with hope because they know that I'm actually making a change. I'm doing what nobody else does, which is give a fuck.
A dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep. In dreams you will lose your heartache. Whatever you wish for, you keep. Have faith in your dreams, and someday your rainbow will come shining through. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, a dream that you wish will come true. We are expected to go to case management. This is the news that I received. I didn't know this, but our case management will not be until March 13th of 2025. That means that I probably won't have a trial with Elijah until maybe May or June of 2025. So I found out that Mitchell will be moving out of Kansas City pretty soon. And I told him that that means that he probably will not be able to face his rapist in court if he is not in Kansas City. I told him that a few days ago, And I said, thank you for being with me through all of this. You know, when I saw Mitchell at our hearing, you know what I told him? I said, I had not seen you since January. Now, I called Mitchell often. I will call Mitchell this entire year. I've called Mitchell probably about once every 2 weeks. I've called him or text him to let him know this is what's going on. I filed my paper. Elijah got served. We have to go here. We have to go there. But I had not seen Mitchell often. I told Mitchell, I said, I want you to focus on school and you let me handle this case. You let me just do it all. But Mitchell, he was actually during the summertime when I was drafting up this lawsuit against Elijah. Mitchell was he was going to school to be a medical assistant. I would call him when he was out in school in Excelsior Springs, and I would say, "Hey, how's everything going?" And I would tell him, "I'm fighting for you. I'm not just fighting for myself." Well, yesterday I told Mitchell that I'm basically going to be moving on without him. He's too young to continue to be drug out to this. He's too young to keep having to show up at court. Sean, I want him to go live his life. He's only 22. He just turned 22 in August. And now that he's moving, I want him to know that he can move forward knowing that I am fighting for him. A few days ago, I said, thank you. I always call him Papa. I call him Papa because he talks to everybody like he thinks he's everybody's daddy. That's how he talks. He talks like he's in charge. And I said, hey, Papa, I said, you won't be probably able to show up because we're not going to go to court together, me and Elijah, not until March, if he even shows up. If he even shows up, we're not going to go to court until March. That's how the court system works. It just things take a long. People don't know these things take an extremely long time. So this is what he left me, and I'm going to play this. I don't like to play too much of what we say to each other, but I'm going to play this. I don't think he would mind. This is a message that he left me. It's so sweet. This is what he sent me a voice message.
Appreciate you for being a brave soldier. And sticking by my side as I stick by yours. And praying you through this. I know it's hard and it's tough to deal with situations that you deal with in your lifetime. But in all things we give thanks to God. To God be the glory. He gives us the strength to keep fighting on.
That's from Mitchell Strong. Elijah's victims, they all helped me in certain ways. And one of his victims, the one that he had exposed to HIV, the one who is the only reason why I know that I was exposed, and I mean the only reason, because nobody else was going to tell me, right? The person that told me that Elijah had HIV, when I found out that Elijah had been brought in for questioning, I call him Mike. I call him Mike on Twitter. When I found out that he had been brought in for questioning, I text Mike late at night, and I said, we're one step closer to getting justice because Elijah has been brought in for questioning. Why do you think he said, keep me updated? If everybody wants to make up a big story, if everybody is lying, if everybody's just saying that things happened that didn't really happen, why would Mike, a man who refused to speak to the police about Elijah, a man who was too scared to even talk to me, why would Mike tell me, keep me updated about the case? Why? Why would he want to be kept updated? It is because Elijah, he did victimize these young men. He victimized me. He did it all. Everything that we have accused him, he did it. Yes. And this guy, even though he won't come and speak to a police officer, and that is because I believe that he is DL. I believe he is in the closet. He literally told me that he would meet with me to talk with me about off the record questions. That is what he said on Twitter. But he wanted to be kept updated. And here's why. Here's why he wanted to be kept updated. Because the people that Elijah has hurt, they are hoping that something happens to him, whether it's in criminal court, whether it's in civil court, whatever. They're hoping that not only does he understand that he has to face some kind of penalty for what he does, but they're hoping that the person that has fought the hardest will be able to get that. Me. They're fighting for me. They're fighting with me. Mitchell, Mike, they come to me and tell me these things because they want me to get justice. They've watched my movie. They've seen what I've been through, and they are trying to help me. Life comes with a lot of twisting and winding roads. But when you are on the road to justice, you're going to have a lot of times where you're going to lose yourself. You're going to have a lot of times where you're not going to be sure why you're still doing this. Times is going to go by. Months are going to go by, and you're going to start to wonder, why am I doing this? But every day I go to bed at night, I'm reminded why I'm doing this. Every time I remember what he did to not only me, but other gay men, I'm reminded why I'm doing this. I'm going all the way with this case, all the way. On this journey, on this road to justice, I've met a lot of people. I have talked to a lot of people who are on my side, people who are against me. But what I have learned is that cold hard justice, it's called cold hard justice because it served a long time from when the incident has happened. I have no remorse or mercy. I lack all mercy and all compassion for Eligah Thomas. And I want to say that again. I lack all mercy and compassion for Eligah Thomas. And I want to make that clear. I don't want people to watch this and think, does he feel like he shouldn't have done? Does he feel maybe if he wouldn't? I lack all mercy and compassion for Eligah Thomas. I will be looking forward to going to my case management with my judge, or with our judge, the Honorable Judge Zhang. And I will be looking forward to going to trial if I am awarded a trial. We have to talk about a trial in case management. And my hope is to present my case before a jury. And my hope is to get cold, hard justice.
Yeah. Get into it. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I am the one. I am the one. Not the two. Bitch. The one. The king of the gays. I am the one. I am the one. I am the. I am the one. I am the. I am the one.
Ha! Nigga really thought he had it, but I won the game, took the ball and smashed it. I make waves and I kick indoors. Big long dick, have him begging for more. I fell down and I got back up, and I broke down walls like a Big Mac truck. They all mad cause I won't stay down. I'm the king of gays and I hold the crown. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get. I am the one, bitch. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I stay getting papers, why I keep on grinning. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I stay getting papers, why I keep on grinning. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get back up, and if you fall back down, you can get back up. Come on Jay, you can get. I am the one, bitch. Keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I stay getting papers, why I keep on grinning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep on winning. I keep on winning, I'ma keep. I am the one, bitch. Oh shit. Jay, why can't you just forgive Elijah for what he did to you? Why can't you just let it go? Why can't you just let it go? Just 2 days ago, Elijah was served his new summons for court. It was on November the 12th. So I talked to a sheriff, and he told me that he came to Elijah's job and served him the new summons. Elijah, he has the option to file a plea, an answer, and whether he agrees with what I'm suing him for or whether he disagrees. But
Somebody asked me why didn't I get a restraining order against Elijah? Because he doesn't want to be around me. He doesn't pose a threat to me anymore, because what people don't understand is after Elijah hurts you, after he infects you, after he rapes you, after he uses you, then he's done with you. A lot of people say, why not just get a restraining order? Don't need one. This is Elijah's game. After he hurts you, after he uses you, he blocks you on Snapchat, on Jacked, and you're supposed to go away forever. He's not supposed to have to wake up and think about what he did to you. He's not supposed to have to be bothered by the consequences of what he did to you. He's supposed to hurt you, use you, and then block you and move on. And that's not happening with me and him. And so when Elijah hurts you, uses you, abuses you in any way, you're supposed to just move on. This is what he wants his victims to do. When his boyfriend hit him in the face and they broke up, Elijah moved on. He got up, he continued to go to college, he put his best foot forward. And even though he was psychologically damaged from facing what he faced with his boyfriend, he still moved on. And that's what he wants us to do. When he uses us, when he abuses us, when he rapes us, when he infects us, when he exposes us to HIV, he wants us to do like he did. Continue to move on, you know? I remember Elijah telling me, he said, grow up, cry me a river. You know what that means? That means he does not care about the things he does to people. And guess who knew that the most? I did. So you know what I did? Press charges. Made documentaries to warn people that if he did what he did to us, he would do it to you too. Somebody asked me, they said, Jay, you better than me, because if he would have exposed me to a disease, I'd have killed him. Well, my hope in documenting this lawsuit and my hope in documenting everything I've done, my hope is that I can show people that there are other ways than just violence.
Okay, so I want to say something. I am an atheist, but I want to get married at a church, and it's for different reasons. One reason is because the church for years voted against gay rights, and I want to get married in a church because I want to symbolize overcoming Christian oppression as a gay man. But this church right here, this is where I want to get married at. In my documentary, The King of the Gays, I mentioned that I wanted to get married at the Loose Park area, and I did. Well, I want to have 2 weddings. If I ever find a guy and get lucky to find a guy that is a cool guy that is willing to stick around. If I ever find a guy that's willing to stick around, I want to get married here too. So I'm going to get married at the Loose Park Gardens, and I'm going to get married here at this church. And the reason why I'm going to get married at this church is because this is the first LGBT inclusive church in Missouri. So where I was born, which is Missouri, this is the first inclusive church where I have spent a few Sundays. I don't come often because, I am atheist, but I come here because my grandfather, he would never let gay couples be as free here as they would be at his church. He would never allow it. I've never seen gay couples be as free and free to love in this area, in this community, in this church. So I'm going to get married here. And at the end of the King of the Gays documentary, I showed everybody where I wanted to get married, and now this is the second place. So when I get married, I'm going to get married in the daytime at the Loose Park area, and then at night, I want to get married here at night, here at this beautiful church. It's a beautiful church. It's so beautiful inside. You can't really see all of it right now, but it's so beautiful on the inside. This is one of the first church when other churches would not bury gay people, right? When other churches refused to bury the dead, the gay dead, this church buried them. Because some churches are so hateful that they won't even bury a gay person when he's dead. But when other churches refuse to have funerals and do the burial, and when I say burial, I mean like the burial service, like a homegoing. This church did it. This is one of the first, if not the first, like in Missouri, this is the first church ever. So I'm going to get married in the daytime at the Loose Park Gardens, and then I'm going to get married here at night. I'm going to have a night wedding. I want to have a wedding to honor the day and a wedding to honor the night, to show that whoever I get with, I'm going to love them. I'm going to love them. day and night. Some people are sometimey lovers. Some people love you when it's convenient for them. If I find a guy and it really works, and I'm okay with my next relationship not working. I'm okay with the one after that not working. Things happen. Things are meant to be broken. Things are meant to not last. That's how life is. But if I had somebody that I get to hold on to, I want to have 2 weddings with them, and I want to stick around. I want to stay, and I want to be faithful. I want that. This is my place of peace. This is another one of my places of peace that I'm sharing with you guys. And this is where I want to come to have my second wedding, my night wedding. Yeah. So, yeah. Hold on. You don't know what's going to come next in life. So hold on. Don't think, oh, nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to be with me. No. Always keep your head up. That's what they told me when I dropped my first documentary about what happened with me and Elijah. Somebody said, keep your head up to the sky. So I'm staying optimistic for love. I want love. I want me a man. I want me a fine man too. And he got to be black. I love black men. Now, I know that people want to make it to where people who are HIV positive can live comfortable in society. I know that we're trying to, make sure that people don't feel like outcasts if they have HIV. Nobody, that was never my goal. But I'm not stupid. I know that people who are undetectable cannot pass their HIV to somebody else. But that's not the point. The point is not, can someone who is undetectable pass it to someone else? That's not the point. The point is that somebody lied to me about their HIV status. They literally lied to he lied to me about his HIV test results. You have to tell your partner you have HIV. It doesn't matter if you've gotten your levels to a point to where you can't transmit it. You have to tell them, and the reason why is because nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows if the medication stops working. Nobody knows, especially if you're going to be with if you want to invite somebody to your house month after month. There was times where I spent 2 days. Elijah would leave me at his apartment sometimes and go do things. And there's a level of trust that I gave Elijah. I'm going to tell a story. Elijah told me that he wanted to go get some drinks. I'm like, whatever. Because the TV was messed up. His TV was messed up. We could not get the Chiefs game. And this is right before we won the Super Bowl that night. I was trying to fix the TV. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to cut my phone off. I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Because my family calls me all the time. We have a group chat. They text me. And I didn't want Elijah to think I was talking to another man. I just, we had just gotten into a bad argument like a few days ago. So I had just come to see him. And we were just trying to watch the Super Bowl together. It was just us two. And I remember him saying, I'm going to go. You try to fix the TV. So he left. And I did not know that he was calling me while he was out getting the drinks. I did not know that he was blowing my phone up. I didn't know because I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, because that's what you do when you're around somebody. His phone was pinging and going off the whole night, which is so fucking humiliating. But all I kept thinking is, those must be all the guys that want to fuck him. And so his phone was going off all night. His Snapchat, everything was going off with all the guys that probably didn't came over to St. Regis. But my phone was on Do Not Disturb. Well, I didn't know he was calling me. So while I'm trying to fix the TV so we can watch the game, I go check my phone. Because he had been gone for a while. I went to go check my phone and I saw that I had a couple missed calls from him. So I called him back. I called Elijah back. And I was like, hey, you called? Like, what's up? Like, And Elijah said, oh my God, what's wrong? Like, why aren't you answering the phone? And I was like, I'm trying to fix the TV. And I told him, I was like, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want nobody, disturbing us while we was, watching our game, whatever. And so he's like, this is what Elijah told me. He said, I was thinking in my head, he's going to get his brothers to probably rob me. He's probably robbing me right now. And I said, no, I would never do that to you. And Elijah said, yeah, I know. And I said, you got to trust me. We had already been seeing each other for about 4 months, around that time. And I said, you got to trust me.
And I wanted Elijah to have that trust in me. I wanted him to have that, but that night we had sex without a condom, and I just did not know that he had HIV. I want to say something very important. I'm not just suing him for emotional distress. I'm suing him for exposure to HIV. And the reason why is because Elijah was doing drugs during that time that I was dating him. He was doing meth and cocaine. And what people fail to understand is that the drugs make it easier to spread HIV because they combat with the medication. I didn't know Elijah was taking medication for HIV because he told me he didn't have it. I didn't know he was non-detectable because he told me he didn't have it. I didn't know that he had to take a pill every day or whatever, twice a day. I didn't know to keep his levels. I didn't know none of that because I slept with him for 6 months thinking he didn't have it. And the reason why people always go, oh, why you didn't know he didn't have HIV? You knew that he was sleeping with everybody. I did not know at that time that Elijah was catching these diseases over and over and over and over and over again. I didn't know that, for one. That's one. For two, I didn't know that he was exposing people to his diseases, right? And for like three, I didn't know a lot about HIV because I had never dated anybody with HIV. I had to find out from a stranger that Elijah had HIV. A stranger had to tell me that. That's fucked up. If you are with somebody, it don't matter if y'all dating, it don't matter if y'all casual, you have to tell them you have HIV. I could have took steps with Elijah. I could have got on some kind of medication with him. I could have, and for him to lie to a detective and say that he has never done any drugs besides weed, it's so fucked up. Because that is part of the reason why the prosecutors were like, is Jay telling the truth? Because he lied about his drug addiction, because the story of him raping me, it involves him being high on cocaine. So he just went in there and told the detective he has not done any drug besides marijuana. And that is because he is a blatant liar. And he called me. I remember when Elijah first called me and told me that he had syphilis and that I had to get checked out. He said, but I don't have HIV. And he said it like he really wanted me to know, like, yeah, I don't have that though. And I believed him because if somebody is being open about their syphilis or that they have chlamydia, why would they hold back HIV? And the reason why is because he didn't want me to have the power to block his ass. Elijah, according to the guy Mike that told me that Elijah, and I call him Mike because that is his alias on Twitter. According to Mike, when Mike found out that Elijah had exposed him to HIV, Mike blocked him on everything and moved on with his fucking life. You think Elijah wanted me to do that at the beginning stages of him, during the honeymoon stage, when he was getting his claws first into me, manipulating me, playing me, toying with me because he had a new boy toy to come over? You think he was willing for me to block him if I knew he had HIV? Also, he did it because he enjoys having raw sex. That fucking bastard would take condoms out of people's hands. That's what Mitchell told me. Mitchell said he would take the condom out of my hand and say, no, I like raw sex. And fuck the diseases into people. He exposed me to HIV for 6 months. September, October, November, December, January, February. We didn't have sex in March. We was too busy arguing in March. He exposed me to that disease. A disease that I didn't even know, like, not once did he ever tell me, hey, I have to take a pill to make sure that I don't transmit HIV to you. I cannot explain to you, like, the level of disgust I have in my stomach for Elijah. The level of disgust that I have for him. He makes me sick to my stomach. When I think about him, I get sick to my stomach. I'm so much fucking better now that he's out of my life. Everything, like, it don't matter what I go through. The fact that he's not in my life just means that I'm not around a fucking whore ass bitch that's evil and that's willing to lie and deceive to get what he wants. He just makes me sick to my stomach.
I cannot believe that I ever gave him my love, my compassion. I can't. A lot of people have texted me recently and said, Jay, are you still going pro se on your case? Are you still like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I told him, yeah, I am. Somebody, he's a law student. He wrote me a real beautiful message. He texted me and was like, stay encouraged. I can't say everything he said, but because I like to keep a lot of my messages private, but he just like showed me some love, like, you know. And he was like, I'm a law student myself, and he was like, be ready just to speak from your heart.
Come and run away with me, my baby. Come and run away with me and cry no more. Come and run away with me, my baby. Come and run away with me and cry no more. I know that life has hurt you, my baby.
The man that exposed me to HIV, right? The man who jeopardized my sexual health. When I opened a criminal investigation against him in October, 2 months later, when I texted him, because I was outraged that he had exposed me to HIV, when I texted him and told him that I would prosecute him because he was a serial rapist and because he exposed me to HIV, he went to go get a protective order against me. Can you imagine that? Now, this order is dismissed, meaning that he does not have an order against me. There is no protective order. As of right now, there is nothing that prohibits me from texting Elijah or seeing him. And the reason why is because he failed to have me properly served. Okay? He failed to have me served. And also, it says here, petitioner and respondent failed to appear in court. He didn't even come to court for the protective order that he wanted. Now, I thought this was a restraining order at first until I looked a little closer. This is a little different from a restraining order. This is called a protective order. This means that if I text Elijah, I can go to jail. When I told Detective Robert Rule that Elijah had exposed me to HIV, when I found out, you know what he told me? He said, well, I don't think they're going to pick up that case because HIV is not considered a death sentence anymore. When Mitchell Strong went in to talk about his rape, when he went in to tell Detective Rubel that he was raped, he walked out of there feeling like nothing would happen to Elijah. And then he got a phone call from Daniel Sedigzag telling him that there would be no charges picked up for the rape, for the alleged rape. But I text him after he gets this order, I go to jail. Do you see how backwards the justice system is? Do you see how fucked the justice system is? That we can go in and tell him, I would like to press charges against him for exposing me to HIV. He would like to press charges because he was raped, exposed to HIV, and given syphilis and chlamydia by him. We would like justice. And they tell us, well, we're not gonna press the charges because we need more evidence. But if I text my assaulter after he gets one of these bad boys, he can have me sent to jail. Do you understand what I mean when I say Elijah is an evil, selfish son of a bitch? Do you guys understand? This motherfucker went in there and tried to make himself the victim. Okay, here's the thing about this order of protection. There is no order of protection as of right now, meaning it is dismissed. It says it right here. The judge dismissed it, right? So I can still text him. I can still be in the same room as him, whatever, right? But this is the thing. I do not think that Elijah is going to come to court. And the reason why is because he has not filed an answer yet, right? He has not filed anything, which means he probably won't. Because Elijah has a bad habit of not taking things seriously. He's a very arrogant asshole. I remember when Elijah lost his job. I was with Elijah a few days after he had lost his job. I was sitting with him on his bed in March of 2023. And when I sat next to him, he said, I lost my job. And I felt bad for him. And I said, what are you going to do, Elijah? What are you going to do? You lost your job. Because he had just lost his job at Populous. So I said, what are you going to do, Elijah? And he said, I'm graduating the top of my class. And I said, oh, excuse me, I was concerned. And because he has a brilliant mind, he believes that he can think his way out of anything. And because he is so nonchalant, and because he has this I don't give a fuck attitude, he thinks that that is going to keep him from having to face me. Because if he doesn't show up to court, he doesn't have to face me, right? Well, he will have to face me at our debtor's examination. My lawyer didn't want to represent me on this case. She told me that her firm would not be able to help me because they didn't think that Elijah had enough money, right? I'm going to sue him for $50,000. And if I am granted that, Elijah will become my debtor and I will become the judgment creditor. That means that I will have the right to be able to look at all of Elijah's assets because he will bring them to me. According to the law, a debtor's examination is a process where I have the right to bring Elijah into court against his will and look at all of his financial records, tax returns. I can look at anything he owns in the bank, and I can have all of it. $50,000 of anything that Elijah owns will become mine. Now, there are some things that I legally cannot take, such as his household items, like a microwave or refrigerator, his bedding, his clothing. I can't take any of that. The law protects all that. But his bank accounts, I can seize all of Elijah's bank accounts, his savings accounts, his checking accounts, whatever he had. I can garnish his wages at his job, whatever he has. And Elijah, he has to bring all of the information, his tax returns, his banking account information, his routing number. He has to bring all of that into court after I win my case against him. I have the right to look at all of his assets and take everything that he has. And if he does not come to his debtor's examination, I can have him arrested for a bench warrant. I can ask my judge to issue a bench warrant. I can motion and file a bench warrant to have him arrested. And when he is arrested, I can have another debtor's examination where he can have a second chance to come in and give me all of his financial information so that I can take it. And once I take it, I can then garnish his checks from his job, wherever he's working. As of right now, he's working at H&TB. I can see downtown behind my apartment. I can see downtown out my window out here. That is where he's working, at H&TB in downtown. So I can have a sheriff send them a letter saying that I have the right to take 20% of his income until he satisfies the judgment, which is for $50,000. So Elijah tried hard. He tried hard to keep me out of his face. He tried hard. Elijah feels that when he is done with you, when he blocks you, when he says he don't want to talk, he thinks that that's it. And he would have that right had he not exposed me to HIV. He would have that right had he not been my sexual. You know what I thought to myself? I did say that he raped me at the beginning of our relationship. He did. I made a whole movie explaining that I stayed with him after he raped me. But you know what's crazy? I realized something. When I found out that he was exposing me to HIV the entire time we were together, I realized that he was sexually assaulting me the entire 6 months that we were dating. And it helped me to see things on a more clear level. That this was not just a bad relationship. This was not just an abusive relationship. This was not just a narcissistic. I was literally a victim of this human being. This evil human being left me with psychological damages. Left me with severe PTSD. I would never look at a man the same and think that he won't lie to me about his HIV status. I would never look at a man and think that he does not enjoy seeing me hurt, seeing me in pain. The one thing that Elijah cannot stand is to have to be around me or to speak to me. He cannot stand that because Elijah, he was so used to Snapchat and Jack allowing him to block people and that he'd never have to deal with them ever again. Because this order of protection is invalid, I will have the right to question Elijah about all of his assets before a judge. And if he doesn't want to answer, because he can't plead the fifth, right, at a debtor's examination. If he doesn't want to answer, I'm going to say, Your Honor, this man does not want to answer my questions about the debtor's examination that I have asked for us to have here. Can you hold him in contempt and throw him in jail? And then we're going to just try it again.
You left your key back? I think I can have penicillin, I think. Penicillin? Yeah, it's something like that. It might be that or yeah. I don't know. Probably saying the wrong thing.
Last night, I was rushed to the hospital because of my jaw. Ever since I was 18, I've had complications with my jaw. My jaw, I suffer from TMJ, and I've always had it since I was 18. And I thought my jaw had dislocated. That's what it felt like. I sat in the emergency room from 10 p.m. last night to 5 this morning. I went to 2 hospitals. And the second hospital I went to, they took x-rays and everything. Well, they received the x-rays from the last hospital, and they determined that my jaw is not broken, but that I could have arthritis in my jaw. They say it's called TMJ. And I told Mitchell I'm in the ER, because he had texted me as soon as I got to the ER, which was kind of weird. Me and Mitchell, we don't talk every day. I thought it was kind of weird. I told him I was in the ER for my jaw. So he said, who did it and where are they? But I'm back home, and my biggest fear was that I was gonna have to either get a surgery on my jaw, which was gonna hinder me from going to the case. And I just kept telling Mitchell, if I get out of this ER just fine, then our case will go as planned in 2 weeks. So they gave me muscle relaxers and pain pills. Last night, basically, it felt like my jaw had kind of dislocated. I don't know. They said it didn't, but that's what it felt like. And I just held my mouth the whole time. It is excruciating. Well, it wasn't as painful as it was uncomfortable. I don't want to exaggerate. It hurt, but it was more so uncomfortable. It felt like my jaw was loose in my mouth. And so I told Mitchell, I said, a nurse here is saying that there could be a chance that you might have to have your jaw wired shut to heal it. But after going to a second, and that was just a could. They hadn't even really seen me yet. That was just what they were saying. So I was like, oh my God, that's going to hinder the case. That's going to get in the way of the case. But after going to a second hospital, they told me that I have possibly arthritis in my jaw and that there's corrective surgery that could help it. There is absolutely nothing that's going to stop me from continuing on with this case. I'm getting bed rest. I took some medication. This is what my arm looked like when I had started my search for Elijah's victims. This is what it looked like. See that? The X-ray. See how my bone is not connected to my hand? That's because it was shattered. The bone was broken into many different little pieces, according to my doctor. This is what my hand looked like when I was walking the streets warning people about Elijah. I used the Jack app to send warnings to people about him, about what he was doing, because I didn't feel like my detective gave a fuck. So I went out and warned people and took witness statements by using the app. And for anybody who doesn't know why I had to walk around, it's because when you move to different areas, it shows the people that you are in their area. And that's how I found the people on the app. That's how. That's why. This is when we were in small claims court, which was a mistake that I made because it really wasn't about the money. It was about us going to court. When we were supposed to go to small claims court, Mitchell Strong agreed to be a witness. He was going to get on the stand and testify that Elijah raped him. Why? Because he had already did it before a detective last year, and because he had already told the police officers that he wanted to press charges. So this is a work note. This is a work release form that I made. This is in the 16th District Circuit Court. It says, I, the plaintiff, Jason L. Hunter, am writing this request to please have Mitchell Strong excused from work on 10/30/2024. Mitchell was prepared to testify that Elijah raped him. Take the focus off of me for a second and focus on a young man who told me, yeah, I will take off work to come and testify about him raping me, Jay. Yes, I will, because I want him to go to jail. I spoke with Mitchell Strong about 2 weeks ago, and he said, I want him to go to jail. And I told Mitchell, I said, Mitchell, remember what I told you. I remember when I first found out what happened to Mitchell, I told him, I said, if you want any justice against Elijah, you're going to have to go through me to get it. I am your only way. I am y'all. I said, y'all. I said, I'm y'all only way to get any justice for what he did. I am the only way. I am. You know why I'm the only way? This is why I'm the only fucking way. That's why. There is nothing. There is no injury. There's no broken bone. There is no ailment that is going to stop me from getting justice for what Eligah Thomas did to all of us as his victims. There is nothing that is going to stop me from going to that court case on that court date and presenting my case, presenting evidence, overwhelming evidence that Elijah Thomas did the things that he did. When I got, I wasn't going to tell this story. I wasn't going to tell the story, but I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it because a lot of people go, Jay, we've seen your movies and we just want to know, why did you stay? They don't really care about what Elijah did to the other young men. They care about the one who made the movie about him, me. So nobody gives a fuck that Mitchell was raped by Elijah. Nobody cares that Mitchell Strong pressed charges for rape because, you know, no one sees men as victims, right? Well, his victims care. We care as the victims. So people always want to focus on me. So Jay, why did you stay? Why did you stay when you knew that he was abusing you? Why did you stay when you knew that he was leaving you on read, blocking you? I'm going to tell a story. And I did not want to tell the story, but because my jaw is currently hurting, I'm going to tell the story. I told Danielle Sedigzag, a prosecuting attorney, I told her, I said, Elijah never beat me. He never forcefully hit me. We were the same height. We were both 5'6". He weighed more than me. He had more muscle than me. He was stronger than me, but Elijah never beat me. He sexually and psychologically abused me for 6 months and enjoyed every minute of it. But for the people that want to know, why did I stay? Why did you stay so long? On the night of the Super Bowl, I was trying to get Elijah's ID from him. We had just come back home. This was a part of the cycle of abuse where they treat you good for a little bit before they go back to abusing you. This was the cycle of lies, cycle of abuse. We both were, 26? I would turn 27 a month later. But we were, running around his apartment. We started play fighting. That was Elijah's favorite thing to do. He loved to play fight besides have sex, because all we ever did was have sex. He didn't treat me like I was worth anything to him. All we did was have sex. So I was trying to get his ID from him. Now, my jaw has always been like this since I was 18 years old. I'm 28 right now. So my jaw has always had some issues. There's always been some kind of pain here, some kind of TMJ going on here. But I didn't tell anybody. I kind of kept it to myself. Only me and my mom really knew at the time. Well, I was trying to get Elijah's ID from him. He did not want me to see his ID picture. And I kept saying, give it to me, give it to me. Let me get your ID. And he was being so goofy. He had already kind of roughed house with me, but he did not want me to get his ID. And so I went around, and when I went around to get it, I just wanted to see what he looked like. But, nobody wants people to see their ID pictures. So when I went around, he did a football maneuver. He did one of those, over here, over there. And when he did it, Elijah's elbow hit me right in my jaw. Bow. And it was on an accident. He did not physically ever assault me. He just sexually assaulted me and emotionally abused me. But he hit me. Bam. Boom. And he was trying to escape me because he didn't want me to get the ID. So I was like, give me the ID. And he was going, no, no, no. And he hit me. Bow. He hit me so hard in my jaw that I started to cry. And I hit him as hard as I could in his bicep. And Elijah always had muscles, so he probably didn't feel it. But I was crying. I did this because I was mad at him. I was very mad. And I was hurting. My jaw felt like it was on fire. The boy hit me. He hit me hard as hell. But I knew it was on accident. I knew in my heart he did not mean to. We were roughhousing. And so I hit him because I was mad and I was crying. And I just backed away like this. And I fell back on Elijah's bed. This was on the night of the Super Bowl, February, I think 2023. Yeah. And I fell back on his bed. And I told him, I said, Elijah, my jaw is not stable. There's something wrong with my jaw. And I thought that maybe he had knocked it out of place, but my jaw had been like this years before I met Elijah. Years before I knew Elijah, my jaw would feel like it was out of place many times. So it was not his fault. He just hit me hard in my jaw. Well, Elijah, he saw that I was hurting. He crawled on top of me because I laid on his bed on my back. Elijah crawled on top of me and he looked at me. And he looked at me like I mattered to him. He looked at me as if he had hurt something that was precious to him. And so he got on top of me and he said, be still. And I said, Elijah, no. You are not a doctor. No. And he took his hands like this on my jaw. And Elijah looked at me and said, be still. Because he was trying to fix my jaw. And I told him, I said, don't do it. And he did like this. And he was trying to fix my jaw for me. And that same night, we had passionate sex. I remember him picking me up because he was strong, very strong, and making love to me, kissing me for what felt like hours. And then we went to bed together, as usual. I wrote a song called I'll Never Forget. And I mentioned how Elijah chose to hurt me the most out of all his victims. And the way he did Mitchell Strong was absolutely disgusting, absolutely traumatizing what he did to Mitchell Strong. But the reason why I say he chose to hurt me the most is because Elijah didn't really like getting in relationships with too many men. He did like going from person to person to person. That was his game, to go to people, to people, to people. But he did not like strings attached as far as like relationship wise. But with me, the reason why I say he hurt me the most is because out of all his victims, everybody told me that they weren't dating him. Mitchell said, I never dated Elijah. We were never dating. His other victims said, no, we weren't dating. We just were hooking up. Well, I told Detective Robert Rubel that we were dating. I made a documentary about how we were dating. And Elijah, he made me feel as if I was worthy of his love. And then 3 days later, he would snatch it from me and he would remind me that I was worthless to him. And they did that constantly. And I didn't know about his HIV status at that time or anything. I didn't know what he was doing or that this was a game or that I was a game. All I knew is that this boy is on top of me trying to fix my jaw because he just hit it as hard as he could. And I remember when I was sitting watching the Super Bowl, I remember the channel had changed. It was like an advertisement, and the channel had changed to something really funny. And Elijah was just laughing about that, and he was joking, and he was acting so bubbly. He was bouncing all around the apartment. And I remember thinking to myself, I could have something with this person. And we were watching a show, and he looked at me and he said, there were two characters on the TV screen. And he said, she doesn't know that he likes her, just like you don't know. And I looked at him and I thought to myself, this is mine. This is my person. He's not perfect. Yeah, he made mistakes. This is my person. And then I sat in a room with a young boy who told me, he said, Elijah is like an angel. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, he's like an angel of the devil. That's what Mitchell Strong said about Elijah. He said, we entertain angels unaware, and Elijah, he's an angel of the devil. A 21-year-old is comparing this person to a devil, to an angel of the devil, a demon. And I sat there and I interviewed Mitchell Strong as he told me detailed how Elijah raped him on the floor, and after he was done, he smiled in his face. I remember Elijah smiling in my face, but he did it over the phone. I remember him feeling so gratified that he had finally got me hooked. He had finally got me to go crazy. And when I told him how he was treating me, I remember he said, "See you next week, Jay." What do you do when a 21-year-old tells you that your ex-lover raped them? What do? You get to business. That's what you do. And that's what we're going to do. There's nothing. There's no injury. There's no injury. There's no broken bone that is going to keep me from getting justice for what Elijah Thomas did to all of us. He toyed with us all. He toyed with us because he thought he could get away with it. He thought we were pathetic to him. And because he enjoyed the games and the lies and the sexual abuse that he plagued on us, he enjoyed it because his evil, hateful, bigoted ass finally had somebody to use as a punching bag because his horror ass couldn't get his fiance back. And because his parents didn't love him enough when he was a child, he chose to make us his sex slave, his punching bags, his sex toys. And I won't stand for him to do it to anybody else anymore. So we getting ready to go to court, baby. Hey, so tomorrow is the day of the case, my case against Elijah Thomas. Yesterday was my birthday. It was a lot of fun. I got to spend time with family. I got to go visit my great-grandmother, her husband, my great-grandfather. We had the same birthday, so he's no longer here. So I got to go see him. I got to see my grandmother, my mom, my brothers and sisters. And I have, in total, I'm my mom's oldest child. I have two younger brothers, a younger sister, but I have an older brother on my dad's side. So I got to talk to him, and I got to go out to eat. And on my birthday, I always want birthday to be like a day of peace. It's always a day of peace for me. I take my birthday very seriously. And now that I've been rested up, I looked over my case today. People don't know this. I'm not just going to court on behalf of Mitchell Strong against Elijah. Currently, right now, I'm also working with a transgender man who was harassed and tortured verbally and psychologically for being trans by a different person, not by Elijah, but by someone else who I won't name. And I'm working with them to make sure that they feel as if they have justice as well. So I'm not just working on this Elijah Thomas case. I'm also working in accordance with someone else, a transgender person who I am fighting for, that they don't feel like they got any justice. But I'm going to keep that case top secret because I don't really want to talk too much about that case. I did want to read my statements of claim before I go to court against Elijah. This is my statements of claim. So if anybody is watching this documentary and you cannot figure out yet why I'm suing Elijah, right? If you just can't get it, I'm going to read my statements of claim to you before court tomorrow. And this is the statements of claim that my judge will read and that I will have to present to my judge. In order to win an emotional distress claim, you have to prove that the stress and the suffering that your defendant caused you have to prove that it is so extreme that it caused you to either get psychological help, medical help, or that it caused you so much pain and suffering that it is considered above the norm for what a person is meant to endure or go through. And so I'm going to read. I've got so much evidence against Elijah Thomas. I've got so much evidence, but I'm going to read my statements of claim. Please give me a second. I might have to cut the camera, but I've got so much here. Tonight, my plan is to get organized again with all of the details I have in this case. Tonight is my goal is to get everything organized again, because I had it all organized, but after looking through all this stuff for the past 2 months, 3 months, things got mumbo jumbo. And so I'm going to and I always have a picture of Elijah Thomas in my folder, so that when the judge wants to look at him, because he doesn't show up to court. That's not Elijah's thing. He don't even like to show up for parking tickets, according to his case net. But I like to show people what my abuser and what our abuser, our rapist, because it's not just one person accusing him of rape, Mitchell Strong, right? So I like to show people, whenever I talk to a judge or when I talk to a lawyer, I like to slide people a picture, because I like to put a face to the person. Because oftentimes we don't think that people who look attractive or people who look a certain way, we don't think that they are able to do some of the things that they do. People often don't believe that a person is guilty of rape if they are attractive. Elijah Thomas was extremely attractive when I first met him. I really loved his dark skin. I loved his dark skin. I loved his hair. I loved everything about him. And people often don't think that a person is capable of rape if they are extremely attractive. There's a lot of celebrities who are accused of rape, and nobody believes that they rape because they always go, well, he could have anybody. Well, she could have anybody. Why would she rape? Or why would he rape? People don't understand. Rape is all about power. It's all about proving to someone that they don't have control over their body and that you have control. And so people often don't believe that Elijah Thomas did the things that he did because of how cute and cuddly he appears, but he is pure evil. And my hope is that I've been able to prove that. I'm going to go ahead and read my statements of claim. These are the reasons why I'm suing Elijah, right? But they're also the reasons why I press charges against him, right? But you have to understand something. Me and Mitchell Strong both pressed charges against Elijah. Those criminal charges have not been picked up. I explained a little bit about that. I'm not going to touch on that too much, but we are now in civil. We are in civil, okay? So these, okay, this is my statements of claim. These are the reasons why I'm suing Elijah. And I'm going to read this to you because I think this is important, that right before I get to the court tomorrow, the courthouse steps, I'm going to do a video. I want to just do one more time for people who are watching to understand that if Elijah Thomas, if he had already done this to someone before me, if he had done it to me, and then if he had done it to someone else, that means that he has continuously done this to young men. And that means that if we don't put it into his crimes, he will continue to do it. I have here in my hand, these are my statements of claim. These are the reasons why I am suing Elijah Thomas. I'm going to read them right before I present my case tomorrow. I'm going to read it one more time so that the people who are watching this documentary, so that you can understand why I am suing him, why I'm making these films about his crimes, and why I decided to be the one to go against him and hopefully put an end to what he is doing to young gay men, what he is doing. These are my statements of claim. I'm going to read them. These are the reasons why I am suing Elijah Thomas. These are my statements of claim. In the matter of Jason L. Hunter Jr. versus Elijah Rashad Thomas, the defendant, Elijah, was sexually abusive and raped me on October 9th of 2022 while high on cocaine in his apartment. The defendant acted reckless and slept with me knowing he was on quarantine for the coronavirus without telling me. The defendant also exposed me to syphilis and chlamydia. The defendant acted reckless sexually and willingly exposed me to his HIV virus during our 6-month sexual relationship, in which he lied to me twice and told me he did not have HIV so that he could enjoy unprotected sex with me, putting my life in danger. The defendant was extremely cruel and sexually demeaning, even defecating on me during sex without my consent, an action that he enjoyed doing to his other sex victims, as well as purposefully infecting them. The defendant psychologically abused me because he intended to cause me emotional distress because it was sexually gratifying to him. The symptoms of my distress include feelings of deep rage, depression, irritable bowel syndrome, weight loss, a loss of enjoyment in life, low self-worth, uncontrollable crying, and thoughts of suicide. And if you watch my documentary, The Born in St. Regis, I talk about how Elijah made me extremely suicidal because of some of the sick games that he played with me and the things that he did to toy with me. But it was also after realizing that I loved him that he had lied to me about his HIV status. So this human being, this disgusting human being is so cruel and so sick that he has caused men to want to kill themselves because of what he has done to them, because of the sexual and the psychological abuse that he has dealt towards young gay men. This sick individual, he don't give a fuck about nobody but himself. He don't give a fuck about your son. He doesn't give a fuck about your brother, your best friend. He will do them in, and he will do sick, dirty, disgusting things to them, and then he will block them so that there is no evidence. And then he will lie about the evidence if he is brought into a detective. And then he will not show up to court when it is time for him to get sued or he has not filed anything against me. He has given up his right to file anything against me. But people yet and still will try to defend Elijah Thomas because they are angry that I came forward against him. Some people believe that Elijah Thomas did the things he did to all of us, but they are angry that I came forward because they think that I want a story. They think I want to have a music career, or they think that I'm trying to be in the spotlight. When in reality, I'm trying to protect young gay men from being his next victim. This is an evil, horrible human being who does not care, and he knows that people will not think that he has done the things he has done because he is handsome, because he is small, because he has a youthful face, because he is very educated. He does not believe that he has to be held accountable for his crimes simply because he does not give a fuck about any of his victims. I looked at Mitchell Strong on January 6th and I asked him, I said, did Elijah make you feel suicidal for what he did to you? And Mitchell Strong, with a tear coming down his eye, he said, yes. We cannot accept Eligah Thomas's sex crimes and look at them as if it is something that is worth forgiving. We cannot look at Elijah Thomas' sex crimes and think, oh, he made mistakes, but he was a good person. No, we have to look at the evil that he has done for what it is. This man will cause your son or your brother to want to kill themselves, and he will move on with his life, and he will sleep with his next victims, infect them with his diseases, purposely ask them to pull off the condom so that he can get them sick with him, rape them if he has to, do whatever he has to do, and then he will lie about it and move on. But it would be very hard to move on if I'm able to win this case against Elijah Thomas. It will be hard for Elijah Thomas to continue to prey on young gay men if I am able to successfully sue him, take the money that he has in his bank. I'm telling you right now, if Elijah Thomas has $2,000 in his bank, I am taking it all. If he has $3,000, whatever he has, if he has $500, whatever he has, I'm taking it. I'm seizing whatever I can of Elijah's. $50,000 or whatever he owns will be mine. And I told 3 ladies, a prosecutor, a victim's rights advocate, and her assistant, I told them in a recorded room, I said, if I take his assets from him, maybe that will make it harder for him to prey on young gay men, knowing that someone is monitoring his assets, seizing them, and knowing that I have exposed Elijah and put him in the public eye for his sex crimes. Maybe that will make it harder for him to hurt people and do what he has done. My hope is that the honorable judge, I want to get her name right, I believe her name is pronounced Zhong. I want to get it right. My hope is that my judge sees my case, sees the evidence that I have, all of the evidence that I will present. Tonight I'm going to get all the evidence back in order again so that it'll be easier to present. My hope is that she'll see me, Jay Hunter, come in, and that she'll understand that I'm fighting for these young men. Mitchell Strong prayed over me. I'm not a religious man. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any God. But Mitchell Strong said a beautiful prayer for me a few days ago. He actually asked God to look over this case because he said to me, he said, God, Jay is fighting for me, God. Please watch over Jay and guide him as he fights for me. Mitchell Strong sees this case as his case. Even though this case only has my name on it against Elijah, Mitchell Strong, he views this as his case because he did not hire a lawyer. He did not go to the courtroom and sue Elijah, but he did press charges against Elijah for rape. And I sat there with him as he went into a room to go talk to a detective about Elijah raping him. And now he knows that this case against Elijah, he knows that this is the only way that he is ever going to get any justice for what Elijah Thomas did to him. Let me tell you, this is a pleasure and an honor to serve sexual assault victims. It's hard work, it's tough work, but I do this free of charge because somebody has to take a stand against sexual abusers, rapists like Elijah Thomas. Somebody has to take a stand and not coddle them for the things that they did. because of rape in form of paupers was dismissed. So I paid my dues, that's how I handle shit. We had a rapist running around, so I went to court to shut him down. Shut him down, so I went to court to shut him down. I went to court to shut. I am the pro, say litigant. I am the pro, say litigant, bitch. I am the pro, say litigant. I am the pro, say litigant. I am the king of the gays, bitch.
Today is March 27th, and we are here at the courthouse. We're here to put a stop to, hopefully, a stop to Elijah Thomas's sex crimes. We're here right outside of the Kansas City courthouse. I'm here with my family. My family's here to support me. I'm holding in my hand my statements of claim, the reasons why we are suing Elijah Thomas. And I say we because Elijah Thomas's victims, they have asked me to help get justice for them. So even though I'm the only one filing this lawsuit, Elijah Thomas's victims have asked me, would I please go before them on their behalf? And we're hoping that if I win this case, that this is a win for all of us as his victims. We're here to show Elijah Thomas that he does not have the right to rape young gay men, spread his diseases, and infect young gay men. We're here to show him that we will not stand for it in Kansas City, Missouri. And I, Jay Hunter, I'm here to speak to my judge, to present my case, to present evidence before my judge, in hopes that we have a judgment in my favor, where we are able to not only have Elijah Thomas held accountable for what he has done, but that we are able to collect on our judgment for what we deserve. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me. I'm Jay Hunter, reporting outside of the courthouse, the Jackson County Courthouse, and we are here to win this case. And we are here to say, no, you do not have the right to do things you've done to members of the LGBT community. Thank you very much.